Technology is an incredible tool. It connects us, protects us, makes life easier, but in the wrong hands, it can be used to harm. The stories you're about to hear are based on real events and public reports. Some details have been changed for privacy and storytelling. So, this all started a few months ago. And honestly, it still freaks me out a bit. I'm not super paranoid or anything, and I'm just a regular person who drives to work, comes home, listens to podcasts, and tries to live a quiet life. But one night, something small made me stop trusting that quiet. I was leaving work late. I got into my car, plugged in my phone, and that little Find My alert popped up. An unknown device is traveling with you. At first, I didn't even think twice. I figured maybe it was a coworker's AirTag nearby or my phone being weird. You know how phones sometimes do weird stuff, so I brushed it off. But later that night, my phone started blowing up. Private numbers, unknown callers, random texts that said stuff like, "You turned left at the light," or "nice jacket." That's when I realized someone wasn't just calling, like they were watching. For a few days, I tried convincing myself it was coincidence, but the calls didn't stop. Every time I blocked one number, another appeared. Some were local, some from out of state. Once I counted 88 missed calls in one day. Who even does that? Then weird stuff started happening at my job. I work in a mid-size office, nothing fancy, just normal desks, coffee machine, that kind of thing. One morning, this guy I barely knew suddenly showed up working maintenance in the same building. He wasn't assigned to my floor before. But now, every time I went to grab a snack or use the copier, there he was, smiling, too friendly, asking how my day was. I tried to play it cool, but my stomach would drop every time he appeared out of nowhere. I started feeling paranoid. I'd check my rearview mirror too often, walk faster to my car. Then, one night, I parked and got another text. "You home already?" No name, no context, just that. That's when my friend suggested we check under the car, just in case. I laughed at first. What are we even going to find? But when we crouched down with a flashlight, we actually found something. It was a small gray plastic bag duct taped near the back bumper. Inside was a pair of AirPods. In their case, my first thought was, okay, maybe I dropped them somehow, except they weren't mine. And the case had scratches and dirt on it, like it had been there for days. We both just stared at each other for a good 10 seconds in silence. Then it hit me. That unknown device traveling with you alert. That was this. Somebody put those AirPods there to track me. I called the police the next morning. I felt stupid saying it out loud. Hey, someone's using AirPods to stalk me. But the officer didn't laugh. He just nodded and said, "Yeah, we've seen that before." They took the case as evidence. A few days later, they called back and told me they'd tracked it to a guy. Apparently, he'd worked in the same building as me for a while. He'd even taken a job there specifically to be near me. He was the maintenance guy. They said he'd been calling me using different apps and burner numbers. The AirPods were connected to his iCloud, and he actually confessed that he hid them under my car because he wanted to know where I was going. Like, those were his words. I remember just sitting there in the police station thinking, he didn't even need some fancy tracker, just a pair of earbuds. The weeks after that were rough. Even after they arrested him, I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every time I got in my car, I'd check the wheel wells, the bumper, even under the seats. I bought one of those scanner apps that tells you if any Bluetooth device is nearby. Sometimes it would pick up random signals, and my heart would just stop for a second. False alarms, but still enough to make me panic. I stopped driving alone at night for a while, started parking under cameras, near lights, anywhere public. People would ask, "Are you okay?" And I'd say, "Yeah, just tired." But the truth was, I didn't sleep right for weeks. Every noise outside sounded like tires on gravel. Every ping on my phone made my chest tighten. Eventually, the case made it to local news. He got charged with stalking and invasion of privacy. The articles all said, "Man used AirPods to track woman." It sounds ridiculous until it's you. The part that sticks with me most is how easy it was. He didn't hack anything, didn't need passwords or high-tech tools. He just hid something that looked harmless, and it worked. I also learned that iPhones and Androids can both detect trackers now. If you've got an iPhone, keep Find My alerts on. If you're on Android, download Tracker Detect, because that one small notification might save you from weeks of fear. It's been months now. I still get nervous sometimes, especially if I park somewhere new. But I also feel more aware, more alert. I don't ignore that gut feeling anymore. And if I see an alert that says an unknown device is traveling with you, I don't swipe it away. I stop. I check. It's crazy how something that's supposed to help you listen to music can turn into a tool for stalking. But that's the world we live in now. Everything's connected, for better or worse. So yeah, I'm okay. I've moved on mostly. But if you're listening to this, just take this with you. Don't ignore the small stuff. Sometimes the smallest beep can mean something's really wrong. And if you think that sounds bad, wait till you hear what happened to a couple who found the tracker before it was ever used. Their story's next. Stay with me.
My husband and I live in Florida. No long time ago, we had one of the scariest nights of our lives. It started like any other weekend, a simple night out with friends. Nothing fancy, just dinner, some drinks, a lot of laughter. We'd both been working crazy hours and hadn't done something social in a while, so it felt good to just relax. When we left the restaurant, everything seemed totally normal. We drove home around midnight, talking about random stuff, groceries we needed, the movie we wanted to watch the next day, just normal married couple talk. The streets were quiet, no one behind us, no weird feeling. But as soon as we pulled into our neighborhood, things got weird. When we stopped in the driveway, a dark SUV slowed down behind us. At first, we thought they were lost. Then the passenger door opened. Two guys jumped out, both armed. Before we could even process what was happening, they were yelling at us to get out of the car. They pointed the gun toward my husband and told us to move. Get inside. Now. We were terrified. My husband tried to keep calm and said, "Take whatever you want, just don't hurt us." But they kept yelling. One pushed him toward the garage door, shouting for me to unlock it. The whole thing was chaos. Hands shaking, keys fumbling. When we got into the garage, one of them ordered my husband to open the door to the house. He reached for the keypad to punch in the code, and that's when it happened. The alarm went off. The sound was deafening. A high-pitched siren blasting through the whole house. The men froze. The one I knew turned to the other guy, panicking, and yelled, "Go! Go!" They bolted out of the garage, jumped back into the SUV, and sped off before we could even breathe. My husband slammed the door shut and locked it. We both stood there in shock, hearts pounding, waiting for someone to come back. The alarm was still screaming, but I think that's what saved us. A few minutes later, the police arrived. We were both shaking, trying to explain what happened. The officers split up. Some checked the neighborhood while others looked around the property. One of them came back and said, "We're going to take a look at your car, just in case." I remember thinking, why the car? But I didn't argue. He crouched down with the flashlight and then said, "Ma'am, can you come take a look at this?" When the officer pulled the small white disc from under the bumper, my husband and I just stared at it. It looked so harmless. He said, "It's an Apple AirTag." I'd heard of them, those little Bluetooth trackers people use for keys or luggage, but I never imagined one could be used for something like this. Then he sighed and added, "These things are supposed to make a sound when they've been away from their owner for a while. You'd normally hear a beep." My husband frowned. "We didn't hear anything?" The officer nodded. "That's actually common. Sometimes the noise is really soft, or it doesn't start right away. And if you've been driving, the sound of the road can easily drown it out. It's possible it was there for days before tonight, maybe even longer." That made my skin crawl. I started replaying every car ride in my head, wondering if it had been beeping faintly under the sound of music or traffic, and we just never noticed. The officer held up the tracker in a small evidence bag and said, "Whoever put this here knew what they were doing." Most people wouldn't have heard it at all. When they ran the serial number, the AirTag came back registered to one of the suspects. That's how they knew it wasn't random. They had planted it somewhere on our car earlier that week. Then he used it to follow us home that night. Maybe their plan was to rob us as soon as we got back. Maybe worse. But because the alarm went off, they panicked and ran before they could do anything else. I still can't wrap my head around how close it was. For days afterward, we couldn't sleep. Every sound outside made us jump. We upgraded our security system, changed the garage code, and even started parking inside instead of the driveway. I double-check the locks every night now. It's hard to describe the feeling. You think you're safe at home, in your own space, and then something like this happens and it changes everything. It's not just fear. It's this weird awareness that safety can disappear in seconds. A few days later, the police called with an update. They'd arrested both men. The AirTag was solid evidence. It literally had one of their names attached to it. When I asked the officer how common this kind of thing was, he said, "More than you'd believe." Apparently, people have started using tracking devices like AirTags to follow others, sometimes for theft, sometimes for obsession, sometimes for things worse than that. The craziest part is how simple it was. A tiny tracker, not a hack, not spyware. I think about that night a lot. Not just the fear, but the random timing that saved us. If the alarm hadn't gone off exactly when it did, I don't know how far those men would have gone. Now, whenever I hear about someone getting an unknown AirTag detected alert on their phone, I tell them, don't ignore it. Check your car, your bags, everything. If something feels off, report it. You never know who might be using it or why. Sometimes I still wake up when I hear noises outside, but most nights are okay now. If I've learned anything from all this, it's that the smallest details matter. That tiny AirTag was the thing that connected everything. It proved how planned the whole thing was. Without it, the police might never have caught them. So yeah, that little piece of tech, it's supposed to help you find lost things, but sometimes it's what helps criminals track their victims.
The next story is a different kind of nightmare, not a break-in, but a person from other side of the world that made life a chaos.
I used to think distance kept you safe. If someone lives thousands of miles away, what could they really do? Now I know, distance doesn't matter anymore. Not online.
It started small, a message from someone who said he liked my photography. He seemed polite, curious, friendly. We talked about cameras, travel, food, nothing weird, just another internet acquaintance you never expect to meet. Over time, the messages became more frequent. He'd comment the moment I posted a new photo. If I uploaded something to my stories, he'd reply instantly, harmless at first. But after a few months, I noticed he started saving my pictures. Then he began sending me long messages, personal, intense. I stopped replying as much. That's when things turned dark. One morning, I woke up to a flood of emails from him, paragraphs of how I'd betrayed him, how I was ungrateful. He said he'd made art of me. Attached were explicit images, not of me, but doctored ones, my face edited onto someone else's body. He wrote that if I didn't talk to him again, he'd post them everywhere. I remember staring at the screen, heart pounding, reading the words over and over. You made me do this. Don't make me show everyone. I blocked him. He came back with new accounts, Instagram, Twitter, then email again, different names but always the same style. He started hinting at things I'd only shared in private messages months earlier, details about my work schedule, the street where my favorite cafe was. Nothing illegal to know, but too specific to feel safe. That's when I realized he'd been collecting everything I'd ever said. I tried ignoring him, but that just made the messages worse. He sent threats now, saying he could ruin my reputation, that he had proof of things I'd never done. I started deleting old photos, locking accounts, changing passwords. He somehow kept finding new ways to reach me. Once he sent me an email from an address that looked almost identical to mine, like a mirror copy. The subject line just said, "Still think I can't find you?" That's when the panic set in. I'd see a notification and freeze. I stopped posting, even stopped using my camera. It felt like he'd taken control of the smallest details of my life. Finally, I decided to report it. I wasn't sure who to even contact. So I started by reaching out to the local police in my city. They said because the messages were coming from other country, it would have to go through international channels. I thought that meant nothing would happen, but one of the officers said they could forward everything to the US consulate in the other country. A few weeks later, I got a call. The consulate had filed a formal complaint about my case, and they were investigating. They asked me to forward as much evidence as possible. I spent hours collecting it all. Hundreds of messages, photos, fake profiles, timestamps. When I sent the last file, I remember crying. I was so exhausted. Weeks passed, and then one morning I woke up to an email from the consulate. The suspect has been arrested. I read it 3 times before it sank in. They said he was from a city I didn't even know existed. He'd been using devices, all filled with the messages he'd sent me. He'd never met me, never even been to my country, but for months he'd built a whole fantasy around someone who didn't want anything to do with him. They said he'd also demanded money at one point, a few $100s, to delete the photos. I never paid, but other victims might have. He's in custody now, awaiting trial. I didn't want revenge, I just wanted peace. No more weird notifications, no more fake accounts, no more hey from a stranger who knew too much. I've learned not to overshare. The city I live in, my gym, my routine, all those little details create patterns that can be used against you. It's been 6 months now. I've started taking photos again, but I don't post them right away. I wait a few days, change the geotags, blur small details. It's not paranoia, it's awareness. Sometimes I still check my inbox before bed, half expecting to see his name, but it's quiet now, and that silence feels like freedom. If you ever think it's just online, it's not real life, it is. Someone typing your name from another continent can still invade your world. But what if they don't stop at messages? What if they start pretending to be you and your identity isn't yours anymore? Someone who learned that the hard way in the most public way possible. That is what happens in the next story.
I never thought I'd get so much trouble from a job website. LinkedIn was supposed to be the safe part of the internet. No chow, just people talking about work. Turns out that's exactly why the attack worked so well. It started some time ago. One day, I opened my inbox to a message from a coworker. "Hey, are you okay? Did you mean to post that?" Attached was a screenshot of a LinkedIn profile. My name, my face, my job title. But the headline said something disgusting. Something I would never write. Below it, paragraphs of fake "about me" text. describing me as a criminal, using words that made my stomach drop. At first, I thought it was a bad joke. Then I realized it had over 100 connections, mutual ones, people I actually knew. Whoever made it had copied my real photo and profession background, line by line, and twisted it into something horrible. Within hours, coworkers started messaging me. Some thought I'd been hacked. Others weren't sure what to believe. A few didn't say anything at all. They just quietly unfollowed me. I tried reporting the fake profile, but that takes time, so I couldn't do more at the time. 2 days later, it was still up. And that's when the emails started. From a random account, nice code base, shame if someone leaked it. I'm a software developer. My work is my life. And somehow this person had gotten hold of my source code, files that only existed on secure servers and my local machine. At first, I thought the threat wasn't real. Then a friend texted me a link to a public repository online. My code, 6 years of work, uploaded by an anonymous account. I reported it immediately. We had to lock down all systems, rotate keys, check backups. It took days. Meanwhile, the fake profile kept posting. Whoever ran it was pretending to be me, posting, responding to strangers, tagging my real company. It got worse. The fake me started sending private messages to people in my network, saying awful things. Racist, violent, unhinged. Some recipients blocked me. Others complained to my employer, and HR called me in. They knew it wasn't me, but they still had to investigate. The stress was unreal. I'd built my career carefully for years, and in a week, one person had poisoned it. The messages escalated. One said, "Dead man walking." That one broke me. I went home early and sat in my car for half an hour shaking. I didn't know who this person was, not even if they lived near me. All I knew was that they hated me enough to dedicate their life to wrecking mine. I filed a police report, and they asked me to save everything. So I did. I started documenting as much as I could, dates, IP addresses from email headers, the fake repo links. I printed it all and kept it in a folder labeled proof. Then one morning, I got confirmation that the fake LinkedIn account has been removed. I felt relief for about 5 minutes. But then, no long after that, another profile appeared, and the harassment continued. Finally, the investigation was moving. Turns out, the person behind it wasn't some random troll. He was someone I'd briefly worked with years ago on a different job. He lived in another state, hundreds of miles away. According to the investigation, his campaign appeared to stem from a professional grievance. When they finally arrested him, I didn't feel happy or anything like that. Honestly, I just felt drained. For almost a year, my name had been dragged all over the place. My reputation was wrecked. Even after the truth came out, some people still looked at me weird, like they weren't totally sure. It sticks with you, you know? At the trial, they read some of the messages he sent. Hearing my name next to words I'd never even think of saying, it made my stomach turn. He ended up getting 5 years in federal prison. Me? I just walked away with a new understanding of how real digital harassment can get. After everything, I wiped almost all my social media. I only kept what I needed for work, but locked everything down with stricter privacy settings. Now I use two-factor authentication on every account and change my passwords very often. It probably sounds paranoid, but once you've seen your own face used against you, you don't really forget it. It's been some time since his arrest. I keep working most days, I'm fine. Every now and then, I still get random messages from strangers. People who must have seen those old fake posts before the TOD got deleted. They'll say stuff like, "Hey, aren't you that guy who..." I just leave as is. there's no point trying to explain it anymore. But I did keep one folder on my desktop called Proof, because when people doubt you, sometimes that's all you've got: evidence.
Online, you don't need to wear a mask to become someone else. Sometimes all it takes is a photo or a voice. The next story starts with a phone call, one no parent ever wants to get.
I never thought something like this would happen to me. I'm careful online. I don't fall for weird texts or fake bank calls. I double check everything. But that day, I wasn't thinking like that. I was just a mom who thought her kid was in trouble. It was a Thursday afternoon. I just finished lunch and was cleaning up when my phone rang. The number looked local, but unfamiliar. I ignored it. Then it rang again. Same number. I answered. I heard crying. Not just crying, the kind that makes your chest tighten instantly. "Mom," she said, her voice shaking, "please help me. I messed up." My brain froze. It was her voice, her tone, her breathing, even the way she says please when she's scared. I could hear her trying not to sob. Then another voice came on, a man. "Ma'am, listen carefully. Your daughter's been in an accident. She hit a woman who's pregnant. She's being detained." Everything inside me went cold. He said he was the lawyer and that my daughter was being held for questioning. He threw around legal words: reckless something, bail processing, temporary custody. I didn't even question it. I just wanted to know she was okay. I said, "Can I speak to her again?" He said, "Briefly, but she's very shaken." Then I heard her again. "Mom, I'm so sorry. Please just do what they say. Don't tell Dad." That hit me hard. That's exactly what she'd say if she'd really messed up. The man came back and said, "You'll need to post bond immediately to prevent transfer. The amount is $15,000. We'll send a courier to collect it to speed things up." I said, "Wait, don't I need to go to the station?" He said, "No, we handle cases like this directly to protect privacy. Please don't discuss this with the bank. It could affect her credit while she's under investigation." That made no sense, but I was in full panic. He told me not to hang up, not to call anyone else, that it could jeopardize her release. He kept me on the phone as I grabbed my purse and keys. He said a courier would meet me outside my house once I had the cash. He gave me the courier's name, described the car, even gave me a badge number. It all sounded so official. I drove to the bank. The entire way there, he kept talking, calm, polite, but firm. "Just withdraw the funds. Stay on the line so I can confirm once it's done. Everything will be fine once we process it." At one point, I said, "Can I just hear her one more time?" He said, "Of course." Then she came back on. "Mom, I'm scared. Please just help me." Her voice cracked exactly like hers does when she cries. Then the line clicked, and the man came back. "Ma'am, we're short on time. Please cooperate." I drove to the bank. Inside, I was shaking so much I could barely sign the withdrawal slip. The teller looked at me and said, "Are you sure you want to take out this much cash?" I told her, "It's for a family emergency." She nodded and didn't ask more. When I got home, the man said, "The courier will be there shortly. He'll collect the funds, you'll get your receipt, and we will make things work so your daughter is released within the hour." A silver sedan pulled up outside just as he said that. A man in a jacket stepped out, phone in hand. The caller on the phone said, "That's him. Hand him the envelope." And I did. He took it, said, "Thank you, ma'am," and drove off. The call ended a few seconds later. When the line went quiet, the silence felt heavy, like something was off. I stood there staring out the window, waiting for the phone to ring again, some confirmation, anything. Nothing. That's when I tried calling my daughter's phone. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. Then I texted her, "Are you okay? Where are you?" No response. My hands were still shaking when I called her best friend. "Have you talked to her?" I asked. She said, "Yeah, she is still at work." "Why?" I said, "Can you call her right now? FaceTime her." 10 seconds later, my phone buzzed. It was her, live, normal, sitting in her car, confused why I was crying. "Mom, what's wrong?" she said. That's when I told her everything, and I realized I'd been scammed. $15,000 gone. We filed a police report that night. The officer said they've been seeing more cases like this. Scammers using AI to clone voices from short clips online. He said all they need is a few seconds of clean audio. They put it into a program, type whatever they want, and the voice says it perfectly. He asked if my daughter posted videos or anything with her voice online. She has plenty. TikToks, YouTube shorts, even old voicemails. He said, that's enough for them to build a perfect match. He also explained that scammers use apps to make caller IDs look local, sometimes even similar to your family's number. That's why it looked like her calling from another phone. I asked if they could actually catch them. He just sighed and said, it's hard. They use apps and foreign servers. We're tracking similar cases. Then he gave me a few tips I'll never forget. A legal process should not request couriers or ask for cash like that. If someone says they're law enforcement and needs money fast, it's fake. Never stay on the line. Hang up and call your loved one directly on a different number. If you can't reach them, call a friend. And finally, voice cloning is getting scarily good. You can't rely on sound alone anymore. Use video, a family code word, or another way to confirm it's really them. I didn't sleep that night. I kept replaying her voice in my head, the fake one. It was perfect, even the tiny crack when she cried. The next morning, I went through all our family videos, dozens with her laughing, talking, singing, beautiful memories, and now potential material for scammers. We worked to set her accounts to private. I told her to check privacy settings, who can see posts. We deleted a few old clips. We also made a new rule. If anyone calls in a panic, we ask a question only our family would know. If the answer's wrong, or if they hesitate, we hang up and check another way. It's been a few months now. I never got the money back. The courier car was stolen, the number disconnected. The bank said once cash leaves the account willingly, it's gone. I still feel angry, not just at them, but at how real it sounded. I've replayed that moment in my head so many times, wondering what clue I missed. Maybe I should have realized when he said, don't tell the bank. But honestly, if I hadn't called her friend, I might have fallen for it again. I am sharing this experience so people learn from what I went through. If you ever get a call like that, a loved one crying, begging, sounding real, stop. Ask a question only they'd know. Call back on your own. No police, lawyer, or agency will ever demand cash or couriers. And please, think twice before posting videos with your voice. We don't realize how much of ourselves we leave out there for anyone to copy. Because now I know, even a familiar voice can be faked. And the scariest part is, you won't know until it's too late.
After hearing about that mom's experience, I kept thinking about how tech can mess with our sense of safety. For her, it was a fake voice that sounded real. For the next person, it was something worse, a coworker who didn't just fake things online, but used real systems to invade privacy. She worked at a hospital, and for years she had no idea someone was watching.
I used to think hospital was a safe place to work. Bright lights, constant security, cameras everywhere. Not the kind that watch you, but the kind that make you feel safe. Well, I was wrong. I worked at a large teaching hospital. I've been there for almost 8 years. The pharmacy department was like its own little world. We all knew each other's names, celebrated birthdays, traded snacks on the night shift. Nothing about that place ever felt threatening. Until last fall. It started with an email. I was getting ready for morning rounds when the hospital sent a message to all staff. The subject line said, "Important IT incident." Normally, I'd skim those and move on, but this one stood out. It said there had been unauthorized software detected on multiple hospital computers, and that password resets and monitoring measures were being applied. It sounded serious, but honestly, I didn't think much of it. Stuff like that happens all the time in big systems. The email said not to panic, that the IT team was handling it. I changed my password and went on with my day. A week later, things got strange. One of the pharmacists I work with told me the investigators had contacted her. I laughed at first, thought she was joking, but she was dead serious. They'd asked her to come in for a meeting. When she got there, they showed her photos and clips, videos she didn't even know existed, taken from her home, her computer, even her phone. She said they told her the files came from inside the hospital network. That's when I realized this wasn't just another IT update. 2 days later, I got the same call. It was a special agent from the investigation. He said my name came up in an ongoing search. He asked if I could meet with them at the hospital. My stomach dropped. When I got there, they took me to a small room in HR. 2 agents, one from hospital security. They explained that someone had installed spyware on hundreds of hospital computers, over 400 to be exact. It had been there for years. The person behind it wasn't an outsider, it was someone who worked with us. It was a guy in the pharmacy department, someone I'd seen almost every day. They said he'd used a type of keylogger, software that records every keystroke. That's how he got our usernames, passwords, and access to personal devices. He could open webcams, read emails, even log into our home Wi-Fi networks. I just sat there, numb. The agent showed me a still image from a camera, my own laptop at home, open on my kitchen table. It was me, eating dinner. All that home privacy was gone. There was literally someone watching all the things I was doing at my home. They told me some of the footage he collected was of coworkers in private settings, home offices, bedrooms, even hospital rooms when people were off shift and thought no one could see. I didn't want to hear more. Apparently, he'd been doing it for almost a decade. He started small, just hospital computers. Then he branched out, using the stolen logins to get into people's personal accounts. Google, iCloud, you name it. They said it took months to uncover because the spyware was buried deep, hidden like a legitimate update file. IT only found it after running a new audit system in late September. He was fired immediately. No one saw him after that. It was like he vanished overnight. But the damage was already done. The agent said there were at least 80 victims, mostly women. Some had personal videos leaked. Others just had their information stolen. But even the ones who got lucky still felt violated. We all did. It's weird. Even now, I catch myself covering my webcam with a sticky note when I get home. I unplug my laptop when I'm not using it. I used to laugh at people who did that. Now I get it. A few of us filed lawsuits, not just against him, but against the hospital too, for not catching it sooner, for letting him have that kind of access. The hospital claims they didn't know that they acted as soon as they found out. Maybe that's true, but I can't shake the feeling that the warning signs were probably there. Some people said their webcams flickered on for a second, like a blink. No one thought much of it. Looking back, that's what gets me the most. How normal it all seemed. Until it didn't. The day after I met with the investigators, I went home and sat in front of my laptop for a long time. I thought about all the messages I'd sent, all the video calls, the nights I'd left my computer open on the couch. It felt like my whole life had been sitting behind that screen, waiting for someone to watch it. I went through my settings, my router, everything. Changed passwords, installed security software, deleted old backups I didn't even remember making. Some of the victims got calls from reporters when the story hit the news. I didn't talk to anyone. I couldn't. It felt too embarrassing, even though it wasn't my fault. The hardest part was going back to work. We had meetings about digital trust and rebuilding the culture, but no one really talked about it out loud. Everyone just avoided the topic. We'd all worked next to him for years and none of us noticed. That sticks with you. It's been about a year now. He's gone. There's still an ongoing investigation, last I heard. The hospital tightened everything. 2-factor login, random security checks, camera permissions locked. All the right moves, I guess. But for me, the damage, it's personal. I used to think privacy was about protecting data, credit cards, IDs, passwords. Now I realize it's deeper than that. Privacy is the quiet comfort of knowing when you close your laptop, the world outside stops watching. And once that feeling's gone, it doesn't come back easily. If you work somewhere with shared computers, don't assume it's all safe just because it's professional. Be careful what you save, what you plug in, what you leave open. And if you ever notice something weird, a flicker, a login you don't remember, don't ignore it. Because someone somewhere might be watching, and you won't know until it's already been years.